For the first time since the race for the White House began, U.S. presidential hopefuls John McCain and Barack Obama shook hands on the same stage. They met at a church in Southern California where the political rivals are reaching out to Christians, making their case before Reverend Rick Warren's evangelical congregation of 20,000. The format, described as a civil forum, not a debate, had each candidate separately answering questions from Warren. Democratic candidate Barack Obama was up first.
I think America's greatest moral failure in my lifetime has been that we still don't abide by that basic precept in Matthew, that whatever you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. Yeah. And that notion of
I think America's greatest moral failure has been, throughout our existence, perhaps we have not devoted ourselves to causes greater than our self-interest, although we've been the best at it of anybody in the world. I think after 9/11, my friends, instead of telling people to go shopping or take a trip, we should have told Americans to join the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, the military, expand our volunteer, expand what you're doing. Okay? Expand the great missions that you are doing, that you're carrying out not only here in America, but throughout the world.
To talk about this event, joining us on the line from Washington is Solon Simmons. He's a professor of conflict analysis and resolution at George Mason University and specializes in U.S. politics. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
The biggest state, a big crowd. What impressions are each of the candidates trying to make on evangelicals?
Well, the first thing to say is that John McCain is more naturally at home with this crowd. Evangelicals have been leaning, and I shouldn't even say leaning. They've been jumping in the Republican direction for a long time, and so you would expect John McCain to do well, and he has done well so far. He's still speaking on this. But Barack Obama had a lot at stake here. We could have had some big news stories could have broken here, and did not really break. That is, Barack Obama seems very comfortable in this setting and had incredible support, I would say, and a lot of good applause lines. You felt that he was among friends, which Rick Warren was willing to say as well. So Barack Obama comes through with fairly unscathed, although we get a good sense of how strong a competitor John McCain is going to be, and the more attention he gets, the stronger he may well become.
Now, George Bush's campaign in 2000 and in 2004 really zeroed in on this category of voters. How difficult is it going to be for Democrats to woo them away from Republicans?
It's going to be a tough job, and I'd say the best way to think about this is to think about what is a values voter and what is the religious left, those concepts and how they might work together. The values voters gathered on the Mall here in D.C. to say that there needs to be in the Republican Party a pro-life candidate. But what the Democrats are trying to do, and it's a tough sell, is they're trying to say that there are other issues that are values issues as well, the economy. And you saw Barack Obama using that line from Matthew about doing for the least among us, focusing on the economy, focusing not on welfare but on work. These are the kinds of things that appeal to the religious left as it emerges. And what I think Rick Warren is trying to do is he's trying to break the natural connection between the church and a party, because if you have a natural connection of that kind, you have no leverage. And this is a major event, the first real debate, if you will, that we've had, and it's interesting that focuses on these values issues and the idea that the economy might be a values issue as well.
Now, this big event is happening just before the conventions, and I guess you really can't overstate their importance.
That's true. That's true. In the conventions, you know, many Americans have made up their minds, but those that have not are now starting to tune in, and they really might go either way. One of the things I've noticed is that although the race is narrowing, that may be in part because people are becoming undecided. And as they become undecided, they start to really pay attention and say, what will it really feel like to have one of these candidates in office? And what a great forum this was, because it was very personal, more personal than most of the debates will even be. So it was, again, a very high-risk setting.
Some people have made the argument that considering how few percentage points Barack Obama appears to be ahead of John McCain, what's going on? Is he having trouble connecting with certain voters?
I think that he is naturally going to have trouble connecting with certain voters, and we saw that already in how well Hillary Clinton did, in particular what we might call the Appalachian voters, the white working class voters. He was trying to appeal to their worldview, what we might call a realist worldview versus a humanist worldview, and that question of evil that he answered was central. Do you believe evil exists? And he admits it does. The humanist worldview might be that evil is ignorance, and this goes back to Plato in the Western tradition. He didn't take that line. He says, evil exists, and we need to confront it. Now, John McCain didn't even have to answer that question. It was just sort of, we defeat evil. It wasn't something he had to think about. So Barack Obama is reaching out in that way to try to get in, let's call it the mindset of those volatile voters that are now just tuning in.
Conventions just around the corner. Solon Simmons, we look forward to speaking with you many more times. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, it's always great to be here.